Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode on the show, Hidden Secret in Books. You guys know we only bring the best guests to the show. And once again, today we have a very special guest. Teresa, please introduce yourself to my audience.
Well, hello from San Francisco. This is Teresa Rodriguez, the publisher and founder of Liberté Press.
All right, Teresa, that was quite a very brief introduction. I don't know, maybe if you want to speak more so that the audience can also know more about you.
Oh, well, of course, I always love to speak more. I'm Teresa Rodriguez, and I have always been in love with books since I was in fifth grade, although I'm dyslexic, so it's very difficult for me to read books. So it was always my dream to make books. And when I got older, I traveled the world and ended up getting my first book deal with Penguin, really got a taste of what publishing was about. It's so fortunate that my first book, Fly Solo, The 50 Best Places on Earth for a Girl to Travel Alone, became a bestseller. It's in 4 languages. And then I wrote a book, Body, Mind, and Solo, that got me on the TEDx stage. And that's had 1.6 million views. I was in publishing and built a business around solo travel. And then I had my beautiful daughter, so I wasn't able to travel anymore. So I really focused on magazines. So I became an editor-in-chief of a few different magazines. But in the background, I always was helping people ghostwrite their books and tell their stories. And I finally had enough of working in magazines with the tight deadlines and the advertisers and, so much pressure. And the stories weren't actually being shared the way that they should be. It was more about the commercial side of stories than the actual true side. So I decided to leave the magazine world and started Liberté Press, where we really specialize in bringing author stories to life through visual and beautiful books and card deck. And it's been an absolute dream come true.
All right, thank you so much, Teresa. So, you have written best-selling books. What has writing taught you about confidence, healing, and personal transformation?
That's a great question. What I've learned is first that the act of writing is a courageous act. To actually grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, that's the way I really recommend that people start. I like to use a big blank piece of sketching paper, actually, not lined paper or the computer. And I like to just start writing my feelings and emotions down. What's going through my head that day? What am I thinking about? What has happened to me? And if you think about it, all of us have a thriller in us, a drama, a comedy, a book of poems. It's just how do we manifest those words onto the written page is really what creates the magic, right? So how we gain confidence in writing is we're able to find our true voice through the written word. It's one thing to type on a computer or type messages to our friends or post something on Instagram, but there is this deliberate act of writing that gets your emotions and your thoughts out between your heart and your head on paper. That's where the magic really starts.
Okay, thank you so much, Teresa. So, why do you believe every woman has a story worth telling? And how can she begin uncovering the story within her?
We don't realize sometimes how important those few minutes of our lives can be. Those moments where our life make pivots and we don't even at the moment recognize them because we're so entrapped in the past and in the future that we have little time to think about what's happening in that present moment. And all of us, men and women alike, have these moments that they've experienced that have brought them totally and truly in the present. And that is where the kernel of inspiration can come from. It might be as simple as parking your car, getting that parking space that you didn't think that was going to happen, and just wishing to the universe and saying, hey, universe, I'm ready to find that car park. And it shows up miraculously. It could be the story of waking up on a Sunday morning, knowing that you have no plans, and looking out the window and seeing the sunrise, and knowing that sunrise was specifically made for you. These moments that could be poetic, and also sometimes these moments that can be frightening. Friends that you betray you, things that happen to you that you don't expect, injuries, deaths. We all go through these experiences, but if we don't share them, if we don't write about them, it cannot enter the collective universe. Nobody's going to learn from them unless you share them. Nobody's going to find comfort in that story that you've experienced, that moment that you've experienced, and somebody else is going through that same exact experience. Your words can help them get through that experience. And that's what's so powerful about books, is that it is a tradition passed down from one person to another of storytelling. Some stories are told verbally from person to person, but what's so beautiful about the written word is they're there in print and you can share them. I mean, I think about it, like I've never thrown a book away. Do you ever see people throw books away? No, they share them, they donate them, they gift them. There's just so many different ways that stories get shared. And in that power, when you find your voice and you say, you know what, I went through this, but I went through this for a purpose. Like I experienced this awful thing in my life, so I could share it with others to teach them how not to go through it, or to give them resources, or to give them skills. One of our authors went through a traumatic brain injury, and her book is about what she experienced on a day-to-day level. And now it's an award-winning book. It's called Step Into Your Miracle. And what people are saying about that book is, wow, I didn't think anybody else felt like I did. I didn't think anybody was thinking crazy thoughts like I was thinking. Thank you for making me feel normal. Thank you for giving me a place that I felt that somebody else understood what I was going through.
Okay, Teresa. So, how can authors use a book to build influence, create impact, and open new opportunities in their personal brand or business?
This can be done very systematically. And I would also like to address that the art of book writing is the creative adventure that one goes on to get their words on paper. And that's where they can express themselves and share their inspiration and their lessons and their learning. And the other side of that is, what can that writing and their learning and their experiences help to not only help others, but to help themselves. And that's where the branding comes. And that's where, when a writer starts to write, their North Star is so, so important. Remembering what their purpose is. What is it that they want to accomplish with this writing? What are their values? What are the things that they stand for? And how do they want others to leave after they've read their book? So, for example, if one is writing a book about their experience with wine, and what they want to teach others is how to taste wine, how to understand the different terroirs, the different places these wines came from, they can write a book about that, knowing that their North Star is to share these incredible wines that they found, these amazing destinations, these awesome wineries that have been owned by families for centuries. There are stories in that. And what that does is that it elevates the writer to a place of, they are the expert. They are the expert about knowing about wines, knowing about where to find these wines, who actually created these wines. Now you can replicate that. You can take that same idea and replicate it with travel. Like for me, for example, I was traveling the world by myself everywhere. So I decided to write a book about all these amazing places that I was going. I created standards on how to decide if a place was safe or not, if it was going to be a place with a lot of activity, how social you wanted to be, how important the weather was. And so I took all of my knowledge, I put it on paper, wrote about 50 different places, and that elevated me to the status of travel expert, especially in the field of solo travel. So what your listeners can do is think about what is it that they are really passionate about? What do they have a lot of deep knowledge about that they can start writing about? It could be as simple as how to care for their flowers and their fruits and vegetables in their garden, to how they're able to calm their child, their toddler down. Their knowledge is very, very powerful. And what they can also do is talk to other people that are in this field, talk to other people that are also trying to figure out solutions, or people who have figured out solutions but haven't written a book on their own. They can become that funnel, that expert, that place where all this information lands, and they are the ones that are able to write about it, disseminate it, and share it in a book, which will then elevate their platform as a expert with care for toddlers, an expert in the garden in flowers and vegetables and fruits. So regardless of what the subject is that you know about, you can elevate that subject, write about it, and then also elevate your brand or your messaging through your writing.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. So, uh, tell us, through your work with women leaders and creatives, what patterns do you see in the way women discover their voice or hold themselves back from sharing it?
This is so powerful because so many women don't think that what they went through, that tragic experience, is worth writing about. One of the women that we wrote about, her name's Lily Sammy, a beautiful couture designer in San Francisco. And from the outside world, her life seems so beautiful and so glamorous, with all these trips to Paris for Fashion Week and buying beautiful fabrics in Milan. But she had some very tragic things happen to her that got her to where she's at. She fell down a flight of stairs and broke her neck, and was told that she could never be a designer. She could never sit behind a sewing machine again. And that destroyed her. But what that did was she had to move out of Hollywood, where she was designing these costumes for huge movie studios, and take a step back. She learned how to cope in her life without being able to do what she loved. But instead of creating clothes and sewing clothes and just fixing them, she was able to draw, which didn't hurt her, and to create these incredible drawings of these designs that she had in her head. And from there, she was able to create her own brand, which would have never happened if she didn't fall down a flight of stairs. She would have always been working for somebody else. So it was that pivotal moment that she did not want to share. But once we got into it, we understood that, and she understood, more importantly, it was that fall, it was that break that gave her the opportunity to become the truest version of who she is.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. So, what advice would you give someone who feels called to write a book but doesn't know where to begin?
What advice would I give somebody who wants to write a book? Was that your question?
Who feels called to write a book, but is
Who feels
confused on where
called?
to
Yes,
begin?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love I love it when people get called to write a book. It's so exciting. And and I love that word call because it is almost like the universe calls you and you pick up the phone. You pick it up or you don't pick it up, right? And when when a writer, somebody who's not even a writer yet, picks up that phone and answers that call, what I have learned and experienced is from all of the amazing writers that we work with and authors is it is a dream. It is something that's been in them for quite a while, but they don't know how to put it on paper. They don't even know where to start. Like I have this incredible idea. I've been called to write this book. I don't know where to start. And you know what? It's okay if you don't know where to start. And, when it comes to the creative writing process, I do not recommend any artificial intelligence to actually write your work. But when it comes to actually figuring out what you're thinking and what your strategies are or what you want to write about, AI can be such a great partner. So what I suggest, the first thing one can do is first, which I totally recommend, is just sit down and start writing out your ideas. Just get them all out of your head and write them on paper. And then if you feel called to put them through AI and say, these are my ideas. What do you think? Knowing who I am, you can even put your CV, your resume in there, any links about who you are into AI and say, this is who I am. And this is what I'm thinking about writing. And it can come up with some ideas. It might say, you know what, Dominic, you are doing this great podcast, the work that you're doing and incorporating the, sharing these incredible stories about other people. You could write a book about how to produce a podcast and some of the best guests that you've had on your show. And then it can outline that for you. But once it does that, it doesn't mean that you're done. Like, ta-da. What then you need to do is really sit down with your thoughts and review and think, okay, is this something that really resonates with me? Because the truth is, writing a book takes hundreds and hundreds of hours. It's not something that you can do in a week. It takes focus. And then the next step is to start that focus. Just dedicate, if it's only 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day to share your story. You can record it, you can type it, you can write it out. Accumulate that writing every week and put it in a place like your computer where you can start to read it as one full document. And just keep doing that. Up it to 10 minutes a day, up it to 15 minutes a day. Use your computer to write it out. Save it as a Google Docs. You'll never lose it. Share it with other people that you trust. Hey, this is what I'm thinking. Tell me what you think about what I'm writing about. That is like the first and second part of what needs to happen to actually start getting the writing process going. And then after that, you can call me and I can help you actually with the whole focus of what your book is, how this book is actually going to come to fruition, how we're going to take your concept and complete it and build it into an actual sellable product that will elevate your brand. But the first thing that you definitely need to do is sit down and get your thoughts out before anything else. What is your North Star? What do you want to inspire people with? And how do you want to be seen holding this book at your first book signing?
All right. So here is my final question for you. Okay. What is the hardest part of writing a book that most people never see?
It's focus. It's the time commitment. It's the not going to the party that you want to go to because you have a chapter to finish. It's waking up at 6 a.m. to write instead of waking up at 7 a.m. It's going to bed at midnight instead of 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. because you have to write that chapter because you've committed to it. It is the habit of making the words on the page. That
What's the
is
biggest lesson you have learned about creating a life that truly feels alive? Okay, Teresa. So, if you could leave listeners with one message from this conversation, what would that be?
I do believe that every person, every woman has a book inside of her, that it could be a book of poetry, it could be a children's book, it could be a thriller. It is up to her to decide if that is something that she could and would and wants to dedicate a part of her life to create. And if she does, then go for it. Envision yourself at your book signing. Picture all of your friends buying copies and becoming a New York Times bestseller, because that's what writing is about. It's about creating and incorporating dreams to make them your own reality.
Right, Teresa, thank you so much. So, is there a question you wish I would have asked you that I have not asked you?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, goodness. What question would I have asked myself? I would have asked myself, well, I wanted to know more about you and how you got into this, because I always love to find out how podcasters decided to become podcasters. So can I ask you that question? What made you decide that this was going to be your career? Because it's so fascinating and I know it's a lot of work.
Okay, so my answer would be that I wanted to have a platform where people can come and share something that will help other people. That is why I started podcasting.
I love that. So serious, we really do the same thing. Yours is audio and mine is physical physical and visual. Do you have a favorite book?
Thank you, Teresa. So I'm looking into getting into video as well. Very soon, we'll set up what I need, cameras and everything for my video podcasting. So before you go, for those that would like to connect with you and learn more about your work, how can they do that?
They can find me on libertépress.com, or they can always email me at Teresa, Teresa, at libertépress.com as well. I'm always delighted to speak with any of your listeners.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and insight today. You have a powerful message that reminds us that every person carries a story, and that sharing that story can create healing, connection, and impact for far beyond ourselves. Thank you so much for coming, and thanks to all my audience as well. And you all do have a wonderful day. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you. You have a beautiful day.
All right, Teresa. So